and welcome to InfoHub Recap, where we focus on the top issues for the past week. In our headlines, President David Granger attends the 2018 Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in the United Kingdom. Guyanese Girls Code launched and more advanced technology being used to make prosthetic limbs. Stay tuned for the details of these and more.
Here's an important message from the Ministry of Finance and the Guyana Revenue Authority.
If you've never filed or paid your taxes or have deliberately not declared your true income, and now you're worried that you'll be audited by the Guyana Revenue Authority, I have good news for you.
The Ministry of Finance has announced a tax amnesty effective January 1 to September 30, 2018.
So you can now pay all your outstanding income, property, corporate, withholding, and capital gains taxes and get right with the GRA. Visit their office or call them at 227-6060, extension 1201 or 1204 today.
Invest in your country. Pay your taxes.
We begin with news that hundreds of Lindeners on Friday gathered to witness the historic commissioning of a recreational park at Victory Valley, Wismar, Linden Region 10 by President David Granger.
President David Granger said that the $3 million park, located in the Linden Jones Community Center compound in Linden, symbolizes the empowerment which has been restored in Victory Valley. This follows the hosting of the local government election on March 18, 2016 for the first time in 2 decades.
This little park here symbolizes empowerment. And this empowerment has come about, this empowerment has come to this region because of what happened in 2016 March, the 18th of March. People don't realize how important the 18th of March was, 2016. That's the day when Lindeners went out for the first time in nearly 2 decades to elect their own council, and that council elected its own mayor. Empowerment.
President Granger added that the democratic process is being demonstrated in Victory Valley by projects such as the recreational park, which was made possible through a collaborative effort between the Government of Guyana, Annie Narain, and Dr. Hardat Singh. Meanwhile, Minister of Social Protection Amna Ali reminded that the project is a realization of a promise made to the people of Victory Valley for the provision of a recreational facility for the children.
I am here to deliver on that promise. That is how this coalition government works. We interface with our people. We hear their needs and deliver once it is practicable. It is important for me to note that my ministry, the Ministry of Social Protection, which is mandated to oversee the welfare of children, will always respond to the needs of our children.
The park is equipped with seesaws, swing, trampoline, and slides, among others. Seneca Thorne for InfoHub.
President David Granger on Monday evening touched down in London for the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. Stacey Carmichael and Kwesi Wishart are there and have this report.
President David Granger, on the sidelines of the 2018 Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, met with Secretary General of the Commonwealth, Baroness Patricia Scotland, and British Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson. Minister of Foreign Affairs Carl Greenidge, who accompanied the head of state, said discussions centered around environmental issues and, more importantly, the Guyana-Venezuela border case presently before the International Court of Justice.
Guyana was able to thank them very much for the contribution they made to getting a Commonwealth position and conveying that to the world, and what is unfolding now, what is needed in the future, where the ICJ is likely to go in terms of the future steps. And then they discussed a range of issues such as the work of the Commonwealth, Aerocrama, initiatives on the environmental front, and some of the new areas of focus of the Commonwealth and of the Commonwealth SG, particularly the development of toolkits for assisting in the implementation of key policy areas, which is an initiative of the SG herself.
During the President's bilateral talks with the British Foreign Secretary, an update was also provided on the Guyana-Venezuela border case among issues of common interest.
Issues ranging from Brexit to the challenges that the UK faces, environmental issues, and so forth. Cooperation that is ongoing, that is in terms of the security initiative and other areas. So that was a wide-ranging discussion and I think quite fruitful.
The Foreign Affairs Minister noted that these meetings precede previous engagements, including one held by UK Prime Minister Theresa May with Caribbean countries in relation to bilateral cooperation. President Granger is expected to meet with Mozambique's President, Filipe Nyusi, attend the Commonwealth's Malaria Summit and a welcome dinner to be hosted by Prime Minister May tomorrow. For InfoHub, Stacey Carmichael from London.
The head of state and his Mozambique counterpart, President Filipe Nyusi, Wednesday, on the sidelines of the 2018 Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, recommitted to strengthening bilateral relations between their nations.
President David Granger described his meeting with Mozambique's President Filipe Nyusi as a renewal of a long-standing friendship. Mozambique, as a member state of the Commonwealth, has also thrown its support behind Guyana in the fight to maintain its territorial integrity.
We were able to speak to Mozambique as a member of the African, Caribbean, and Pacific states, and as a member of the Commonwealth. So there is a lot in common between Mozambique and Guyana. And we have committed to strengthening our ties.
The two leaders committed to strengthening relations in areas of common interest.
I believe this is a good opportunity to renew that old friendship and to look to the future to build solidarity. Certainly in political terms, we are interested in ensuring that the African, Caribbean, and Pacific states go forward into the new era as a united front.
President Granger also met with members of the diaspora in London, who restated their commitment to Guyana's continued development.
We are very confident in the relations with Guyana, and we are looking for the strengthening of economic ties, particularly between the diaspora and their home country.
The head of state will continue his engagements with other leaders on the sidelines of the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. For InfoHub, Stacey Carmichael from London.
Zanil Williams spoke to the Guyana Power and Light Incorporated's Assistant Public Relations Officer about the recent spate of blackouts which affected several communities.
Over the past 72 hours, many communities have experienced blackouts. Guyana Power and Light Incorporated PRO Natalie Pindar says,
A localized fault is basically a fault which affects a small group of persons within a community. And so the faults that occurred would have been for a number of reasons, basically loose connections, problems with transformers and fallen poles, and obviously these are due to the inclement weather.
Once a report is received, Pindar explained that a team is dispatched immediately to address the problem. Pindar reminded that maintenance is also ongoing and the weather remains a factor. The following areas are scheduled for maintenance between April 17 to 22nd, 2018. Unity Village, East Coast Demerara, Norton Street Lodge and its environs, Shiv Chandrapal Drive, Kitty Camerville, Newton Street, Vicinjon Road, Sobrianville, Prashad Nagar, and Bellear Park. Zanil Williams for InfoHub.
Crystal Stull tells us that a team of officials from the Ministries of Public Infrastructure and Finance, led by Minister David Patterson, on April 14 visited Kayuni Mazaruni Region 7 to assess and inspect ongoing Hinterland Road projects in the area and get a first-hand look at the two main crossings which link Madhya and Bartika.
It's anticipated that at the end, shortly, we will be able to drive between Madhya and Bartika. So that was the primary reason for my visit, to assess it. These two goodly gentlemen on my left at the head table, we brought along to them because they have a role to play in the budget. And sometimes it is difficult to explain to persons if they haven't seen exactly what you want to do, the vision on this. I mean, so they can understand why you need it, why it may sound a bit more
Finance Secretary Dr. Hector Butt said based on observations, strong arguments will be put forward to the Finance Ministry in support of requests made by the Public Infrastructure Ministry for future projects.
By being able to say more, by being able to make strong arguments in the sense of the relevance of the sort of requests which are being made by the Ministry of Public Infrastructure, we can perhaps add some support to it. Then the framers, the budget officers, the ministers will be better able to make some relevant allocation towards the development of the project.
Hinterland engineer Jeffrey Walcott explained that the contractors are working towards the 2019 deadline despite challenges such as the weather and obtaining raw materials. The project will create a direct link from Bartica to Madia after more than 30 years. It is part of the government's vision to link the coast and the hinterland. Crystal Stahl for InfoHub.
The Central Housing and Planning Authority last Friday officially handed over the management of 4 housing schemes to the Mayor and Town Council of Bartica. Minister of Communities Ronald Bulkan said the move demonstrates the government's commitment to the sustainability of local communities. Alexis Rodney reports.
The housing schemes 4 miles, Block 1 parcels 93 to 155, Mongrepo Creek and the West Indian Association were officially transferred to the management of the Mayor and Town Council. According to Minister Bulkan, the transferring of the housing schemes is in sync with the administration's vision of not only satisfying the housing needs of the citizens, but ensuring that the areas are effectively managed and developed.
Today is just the beginning of the exercise of transferring to local democratic organs housing areas developed by the CHNPA. There are many other housing areas that will be transferred to the LDOs in the areas which they are located.
The minister reiterated that the government is not visionless, as it knows where it is going and is making tremendous strides, particularly in the housing sector. He explained that the housing schemes have seen upgrades since 2015 and that works will continue in this regard. Bartica's Mayor Gifford Marshall said he wished nothing more than the town to embrace green initiatives going forward.
We need to do our part. And like I said, in all of the areas, we should have a race. We should be motivated and inspired to beautify those areas.
Chairman of the Central Housing and Planning Authority, Reverend Ellsworth Williams, said that the authority was given back to the communities that which belonged to them. He also lauded the combined leadership of the Mayor and Town Council and the Regional Democratic Council, which he said is thrusting the township's development forward. Alexis Rodney for InfoHub.
Hundreds of young girls and women are soon to benefit from ICT training through the Guyanese Girls Code initiative. Here is Stefan Gabriel.
The Ministry of Public Telecommunications is taking a comprehensive approach to train more Guyanese girls and women in ICT. These were the sentiments uttered by Minister of Public Telecommunications, Kathy Hughes, at the launch of the Guyanese Girls Code course at the University of Guyana Turkine campus on Saturday.
We at the Ministry of Public Telecommunications always knew that we had to make a change, that we had to train more of our Guyanese women to get into information technology. So we came up with a plan to demonstrate to our female population, from as young as some of you are in this room, that ICT is not only meant for boys and girls. Women are excelling, and they are leading in many ways.
The initiative's goal is to address the gender disparity in Guyana's ICT sector, where women and girls remain underrepresented.
And therefore, I am excited because we've come this far, but now finally, we can give opportunities to girls to make sure that they can be in this important game. Usually when you go into situations involving the use of computers and ICT, and I'm not complaining that we don't like the boys, we love the boys. But we want to make sure that the girls are equally there. And that's what this is all about.
Guyanese Girls Code is a free 12-week course designed to teach Guyanese girls between the ages of 11 to 14 beginners coding and programming. The course is being implemented by the Ministry of Public Telecommunications in collaboration with NSERD and the University of Guyana. For InfoHub, Stefan Gabriel.
In this Paul McAdam report, he tells us that according to the Finance Minister Winston Jordan, funds from the Islamic Development Bank, which has provided the government with its largest ever resource envelope, are yet to be accessed.
Finance Minister Winston Jordan, at his first 2080 media briefing last Friday, reiterated that contrary to what some sections of the media have been peddling, the government has not borrowed $900 million from the ISDB.
As I said, it's a resource envelope. We will have to go through all the due diligence and whatnot before we can access even a small part of it.
The minister explained that the hard work now lies with creating projects in the various sectors identified that could benefit from available funds.
All the studies that have to be done, the feasibility of it, the environmental this and so on. And secondly, whenever we have borrowed monies, immediately thereafter, we bring the contracts to the Parliament. We have no outstanding contract of any borrowed money. None.
According to the minister, this is a legal requirement. He recalled that even with the renegotiation of the AHI debt and the Marriott Hotel's funding, it was brought to the public's attention by the Parliament as it was a debt on the government's books. He stated that actual loan figures for the government since taking office amount to less than $100 million.
The message is, rather than carrying scare stories, I want you to keep this so you can refer to it constantly when people are attempting to scare the public into the government borrowing its way and leaving burdens for future generations and all these kinds of stories. The facts speak for themselves.
The Islamic Development Finance Bank's offer to Guyana is available for specific developmental sectors for the next 5 years. These include energy, agriculture, rural development, human development, banking, and finance. It is the largest resource envelope ever made available to this country from any multilateral agency. Paul McAdam for InfoHub.
Guyana's production sharing agreement is comparable to fiscal regime across the globe. Tiffany Rogers has the details.
In an exclusive report published on leading local oil and gas news website OilNow, Guyana's royalty rate and revenue share of the contract with ExxonMobil and partners is described as favorable when compared with similar agreements worldwide. Guyana is classified as a frontier country, meaning a country which is now getting into oil production. The OilNow article quotes a report by UK-based Wood Mackenzie, a globally respected oil and gas research firm, and a Norwegian-based Rystad Energy. Guyana's PSA with ExxonMobil outlines that Guyana will receive 50% profit oil and 2% royalty, which Rystad estimates will return in Guyana, taking a total of 60% of the profits from the various projects, which is described as the government share. This, the report says, is in line with countries that recently opened up for exploration and production activities, where the government take is in the range of 45 to 70%. The analysis, which reviewed the agreements of 70 oil-producing countries around the world, debunks the view by some locals that Guyana did not get a fair deal when the contract was renegotiated by the coalition government in 2016. Rystad explained in the OilNow report that Guyana has followed a path similar to other frontier countries who offered favorable fiscal terms to attract investors. It added that the government has succeeded in this regard. ExxonMobil is operating in the Stabroek block, which is estimated to contain 3.2 billion recoverable barrels of oil. The Noble Bob Douglas recently arrived in Guyana's waters and has begun drilling the 17 wells to begin oil production in 2020. Reporting for InfoHub, Tiffany Rogers.
Paul joins us again. He tells us that Cabinet was briefed on the progress of the proposed Sovereign Wealth Fund legislation.
The Cabinet brief was conducted by Commonwealth Economic Advisor, Natural Resources Division, Dr. Daniel Wild, on the main components of the Sovereign Wealth Fund legislation.
The main components were the relationship between the Sovereign Wealth Fund and the annual budget, ensuring that all petroleum revenues are transparently paid into the fund, the management of the Sovereign Wealth Fund, which ensures appropriate checks and balances, and that the Ministry of Finance is the overall manager on behalf of government, and that the Bank of Guyana is the operational manager. And then we also talked in some detail about the reporting arrangements and auditing arrangements, which should ensure that the Sovereign Wealth Fund and Natural Resource Fund is transparently and well managed, with a number of reporting requirements.
Dr. Wild, who has a wealth of experience in helping to craft similar legislation in other countries, added that the reports, quarterly and annually compiled to international standards, must be submitted to the Parliament and eventually made public. He stated that Guyana is on the right path with the move to establish the fund before oil production actually begins.
The Ministry of Finance is now planning to present a number of rules for withdrawals from the fund to Cabinet, and there'll be discussions with Cabinet about those rules. And once that decision has been taken, they'll be put in the Sovereign Wealth Fund legislation with the aim, as I understand it, of finalising the Sovereign Wealth Fund legislation and presenting it to Parliament and having it approved by Parliament.
Finance Minister Winston Jordan described the event as an opportune time to brief his cabinet colleagues on what to expect legislatively. Work on the fund's legislation, which is compliant with the Santiago Principles and international best practices, has been ongoing since 2016.
We have been doing the work quietly at the Ministry of Finance with Dr. Weil and the other stakeholders that have given us assistance. So we are nearing the end of the near to breast the tape, so to speak.
For Minister of Natural Resources Raphael Trotman, the progress being made may not be as swift as some would want.
Progress to me has to be slow, it has to be steady, and it has to be safe. We don't want to rush legislation, and we would have consulted far and near around the world and countries and listened to experts that ensure that the Santiago Principles and all of the key elements of a good sovereign wealth fund are present in this bill.
According to Minister Trotman, the government is on track to have the Sovereign Wealth Fund in place before oil production starts in 2020. Paul McAdam for InfoHub.
Several roads in Cayuni-Mazaruni Region 7 will be tolled. More in this Renata LaFleur report.
It's anticipated that at the end, shortly, we will be able to drive between Madia and Bartica. So that was the primary reason for my visit, to assess it. These two goodly gentlemen on my left at the head table, we brought along to them because they have a role to play in the budget. And sometimes it is difficult to explain to persons if they haven't seen exactly what you want to do, the vision on this. I mean, so they can understand why you need it, why it may sound a bit more.
Finance Secretary Dr. Hector Butt said, based on observations, strong arguments will be put forward to the Finance Ministry in support of requests made by the Public Infrastructure Ministry for future projects.
By being able to say more, by being able to make strong arguments in the sense of the relevance of the sort of requests which are being made by the Ministry of Public Infrastructure, we can perhaps add some support to it. Then the framers, the budget officers, the ministers will be better able to make some relevant allocation towards the development of the project.
Hinterland engineer Jeffrey Walcott explained that the contractors are working toward the 2019 deadline despite challenges such as the weather and obtaining raw materials. The project will create a direct link from Bartica to Madia after more than 30 years. It is part of the government's vision to link the coast and the hinterland. Crystal Stahl for InfoHub.
An agriculture station will be constructed at Cashew Lake in the Pirara area, Region 9. Sanika Thorne tells us that this decision was made after consultations with stakeholders on the way forward for the Hinterland Sustainable Agriculture Development Program.
The consultants are looking at various aspects of the dam design, the station design, which when I say station, I mean buildings, land plots, and so on. So presently that is what is ongoing. They are in the final stages of that, and we hope to have the report before the end of the month. So at that point in time, we will share the report with all the stakeholders.
The US $4 million agriculture research station will consist of demonstration plots, herds of cattle, poultry rearing, fish ponds, orchards, and seed stocks. It will also boast a huge reservoir that will provide irrigation year-round, thereby addressing the extended dry seasons which result in drought-like conditions. According to Lachman, the engineer along with the consultants of the project are looking at various aspects of the station and its requirements.
The reservoir, as we would have all heard at the last meeting, the size has been drastically reduced to 200 acres. That allows us to carry out research, but it will be supplemented by additional sources of water. So at this point, what we have with the environmental and social personnel on the ground, and some of you would have met them, the consultants are visiting the various villages that surround the Pirara area and are carrying out consultations with various villagers.
The project also includes construction of an abattoir and incentive packages for communities, which will be based on and developed from the research done by the station. The Agriculture Research Station is the larger portion of the entire Hinterland Sustainable Agriculture Program, which is aimed at improving agriculture through environmentally and sustainable methods. A total of $265 million was allocated in the 2018 national budget for its design and construction. Sinika Thorne for InfoHub.
The National Orthotic and Prosthetic Appliance Workshop at the Ptolemy Reed's Rehabilitation Center is now trained to manufacture issuance metal container socket for prosthetic and orthosis limbs. Natisha Isaacs brings us this report.
According to the senior technician Colin Charles, following a one-week training session with US-based company Prosthetica, they are now equipped with the necessary knowledge and capability to manufacture the issuance metal socket. These will improve the quality of prosthetic limbs.
In terms of the training, this line of work that we do, you always find that there's room for improvement. And of today's world, you find that this technology has been growing. And this introduction of a new design of socket, which you call the ischial ramal containing socket, definitely it's going to make a much difference in terms of person able to control and able to move with the prosthesis.
This socket is said to be the world's most adjustable socket because of its adjustability at your fingertips, advanced pressure distribution, the use of state-of-the-art fabrics and superior design, and most of all, the use of no socks. The four-member team from the non-profit organization included John Batstroff, the director of Prosthetica, London-based David Nicholas, Ian Carrick of Canada, and England-based Laura Burgess, clinical specialist physiotherapist. The team assisted with manufacturing and demonstrating how to construct the new socket.
We will try to improve in terms of trying to do this technology, which we already started to implement it, because this morning we had seen our local patient, two of them, which myself did 2 casting for that particular design which was shown to us.
5 persons benefited from the new limbs. 2 received above-the-knee prostheses and 2 others required ankle-foot orthosis. While 37-year-old Melroy Pyle, who lost his lower arm in an accident, received elbow prosthesis. Another training exercise is scheduled within the near future. This collaboration will be with the Pan American Health Organization. For InfoHub, Natisha Isaacs.
Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu formally launched the Ministry of Public Health's 2018 Expo on Wednesday at the Ramada Princess Hotel. Gabriela Patram was there and brings us this report.
Acting President and Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu today delivered the feature address at the launch of the Ministry of Public Health Health Expo. The acting president noted that the expo is intended to focus nationally on the health policy overview and also the ways in which citizens can contribute to ensuring a healthy society.
A nation is blessed if it has healthy and productive citizens who become useful in all spheres of their endeavors, in all things that you want to do. And the health fair, as I understand it, is to be able to promote awareness about health conditions, diseases, viruses, things that could affect this wealth of the nation.
The acting president encouraged those in attendance to always carefully read labels of products that they consume. The acting president highlighted that despite the challenges faced for financial backings in simultaneous sectors, Guyana has been able to maintain an impressive healthcare system.
Our country is fortunate in that we have a health system that is centrally driven. A health system that is rooted in concern and care for our people. This has nothing to do with whether it is this government or that government. It has to do with a national policy that we have seen in this country since independence.
Meanwhile, Minister of Public Health Walter Lawrence described the expo as the first of its kind for the ministry.
The goal of this Health Expo is to develop synergies between the Ministry of Public Health and all the healthcare providers, more importantly, the general public.
The Health Expo will be held from the 30th of May to the 2nd of June 2018 at the Sophia Exhibition Center under the theme Reaching for a Better Life with Good Health. Reporting from the Ramada Princess Hotel, Gabriela Patram for InfoHub.